Bun găsit tuturor! Sunt Alina Dima, gazda dumneavoastră. În emisiunea de astăzi vă propun să călătorim împreună, virtual, într-una din țările mele favorite. Da, trebuie să recunosc acest lucru. Este vorba despre o țară plină de culoare, de savoare, o țară a cărei istorie este extrem de bogată și de fascinantă, o țară ai căror înțelepți au vorbit lumii întregi despre pace și iubire. Este vorba despre India, pentru că pe ea o vom vizita astăzi, alături de gazda noastră, excelența sa, domnul Rahul Shrivastava, ambasadorul Republicii India în România. Hello, Your Excellency, and thank you so much for having accepted our invitation to have this wonderful dialogue about your fascinating country.
Thank you. You're most welcome.
India has a very long and very rich history. Many people know about that, but I would like to begin our conversation with an overview regarding the most important events in the history of your country.
We have a history of over 5,000 years, maybe even 6,000 years, because we had what is called the Indus Valley civilization. That happened, and that was a full civilization. The planned cities and people who were at a very advanced stage of technology, so to say. It's still there. We still have the remains of the civilization, so it's not fiction. It was actually there. This happened sometime around 3000 BC, so we are talking about 5,000 years. And thereafter we had the Vedic age, when all the religious scripts such as the Rig Veda that came into being. That was around 1500 BC. So by that time, the Indus Valley civilization had gone. It had vanished. It's still a mystery how it vanished, but then it was gone. So that was replaced by what we call the Indo-Aryanic age. We had Indo-Aryans who came to the north of India, and the Vedic period began. That was around 1500 BC. So that continued for about, I would say, about 1,500 years. We had the early Vedic age, and then we had later Vedic age around, say, 500 BC. And I'm not talking about Hinduism, because Hinduism began around, say, 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. So around 500 BC, that's a time when two important religions were born in India, or Indo-Nepal, because Buddha was born in Nepal, but he spent a lot of time in India. So around that time we see the advent of Buddhism, and around that time we had big empires such as the Mauryan Empire, and we had a king called Ashoka who spread Buddhism to various parts of the world. Then around the 7th or the 8th century we had Muslim rulers who started coming to India from the western parts of Asia. Around, say, from 700 or 800 AD to 15th century, around that time is when we had a lot of these Muslim rulers. And around 15th century, or say mid 16th century, we had Mughal dynasty. They ruled India for about 200 years, and the huge architectures that you see, whether it's the Humayun's tomb or Taj Mahal, were built by the Mughal dynasty, the Mughal rulers of India. Thereafter came the Europeans. It was Portuguese, French, but the British stayed on. So around the mid 18th century, the British came, and thereafter in 1947 we got our independence.
It's quite interesting and fascinating at the same time, the fact that India, population-wise or demographically, is one of the largest countries in the world. And also there are several nationalities and several official languages in your country, and people have managed to live together in peace and harmony. And I think that this might be an extraordinary example for other countries also. I would like to talk about that, about the official languages and about the colorful nationalities of India.
Yeah, before I come to that part of the question, I would like to mention that India has always welcomed guests from abroad. So people have come and settled in India. In fact, Christianity came to India in 78 AD, 300-400 years before it came to Europe. Also, we had Parsis who came from Iran and they settled in India. Jews came, they settled. So everyone comes and settles in India, and India has not been an expansionist power, so to say. We never went out to capture. We were happy with what is there. So that is the basis of peace and harmony, because that's ingrained in us, that we have to live peacefully and we should be satisfied with what we have. Coming back to the question of nationalities, yes, India is home to a large number of diverse culture, people, traditions. Of official languages, we have two languages which are called official languages in the center, in the union. One is Hindi and other is English, because English we inherited and most of our governance is done in English. So those are the two languages we use in the union, which is in the central government. But also we have 20, in all we have 22 official languages. If you count English, that becomes 23. So 22 official languages which the states can use. So sometimes when we travel from one place to another, we are not able to understand each other, and in some ways English unifies, in a sense that some people may speak their mother tongue, I speak my mother tongue, but we know English, so we will be able to speak to each other. But I also see Hindi now, because of the films and media, people in various states of India where they would not usually be able to understand Hindi, they are able to understand because of the media and Bollywood and movies. At the same time, there are places, I'll give an example of, say, South India. There's a city called Bangalore, which is like the Silicon Valley of India. And because you have a lot of IT companies there, where people from all over India come and settle there. So there also, when people go, people from the north, they learn the language, which is Kannada.
And now coming back to our main topic, actually, because here at Travel Mix we are travel aficionados. So I would like to talk about the main tourist sites or the main tourist attractions in India. Of course, many people know about the Taj Mahal or about Varanasi as being a holy place, a sacred place. Let's talk about them, but also about some other areas that might be not so well known, and you would want people to go there.
Yeah, fortunately or unfortunately, you have India is identified with a some big tourist destination, like you said, Taj Mahal. That is very good. Yes, it's a marvel in itself. So people go, and if you go to India, don't see the Taj Mahal, you haven't visited India. So that is true. But given the number of years that we have had, I said that we had various kinds of dynasties, rulers, and we have a continued history for a very long time, and we have been able to preserve the past very well. So you will see any place you go. I remember 15 or 20 years ago, once I was in India, and I went to one of my relatives in Rajasthan, and we went to a small village. So I was looking at the temples which were there. The temples which maybe only the people in that region visited. These temples were not in a very good state, but then these temples were built maybe in the 7th century AD or 8th century AD, and in a small village you have such. So any place you go, you will be able to find those heritage sites. The big ones are, as you said, you have it in Agra, where you have the Agra Fort in addition to the Taj Mahal. When you are in Delhi, because we had Mughal rulers there, and before that we had several other Muslim rulers who came to India. So you have the minaret called Qutub Minar. We have many forts in Delhi, and then people usually go to Rajasthan, where again there were many Hindu dynasties, and the forts such as the Amber Fort, or what we call the Hawa Mahal. Hawa is air. So you have all those which are the places that people usually go to. But increasingly what is happening, and I'm not talking about the beaches. If you say beaches, then you have just people know about Goa and Kerala, but then there are other beautiful beaches in India also, which are slowly also seeing more number of tourists. But the places that I would recommend for people to go is one is in South India. We have again a very rich history, whether it's Karnataka or Tamil Nadu, where you have temples even built along the sea. If you go to places like Maharashtra, we have from the Buddhist times Ajanta and Ellora caves. These are a little off the usual circuit, so people don't go there. Then we also see a lot of because we have a lot of diversity, not just in terms of culture or temples or tradition, but even the geographical diversity is huge. So if you go to a place like Ladakh, which is in Kashmir, you'll be able to go to mountains which are almost as high as Everest, and where places get cold as minus 40 degrees. And we have people in Ladakh, they practice Buddhism. So they have, for example, a festival called Hemis, and that is a very colorful festival. Also geographically, as I said, beaches, people usually identify the well-known beaches are in Goa, that is where most of the foreigners go, or some people go to Kerala where they get this holistic Ayurveda treatment. But then we have many islands, like there's an island that I remember is called Lakshadweep, small islands where we have restriction in terms of how many tourists can go, but those are very beautiful islands. So I would encourage people to go off the circuit, not just to what is called the Golden Triangle, Delhi, Jaipur and Agra. Beyond that also there are several places, and the government is promoting tourism infrastructure in these places also. The biggest statue in the world has been built in India, and this is the statue of Vallabhbhai Patel, who was our first deputy prime minister. He was the home minister and he was the one who united all the states of India. So this has come up in the state of Gujarat, and this statue is attracting a lot of people, mostly so within India, because it has got a huge tourism infrastructure around that place, but also lots of people from outside. And just to give you an idea of how big this statue is twice the size of Statue of Liberty.
If you say India, you inevitably think about the holy river Ganga. There is an absolute connection between the people of India and the river. So I would like to talk about the river now and about its importance to the people, no matter the culture or the social status or even the religion that they believe in, because the river connects everyone. And I'm quite sure that there are some legends related to it. Could you tell us something about that?
Yes. Ganges, as you said, is a holy, sacred river for Hindus in India. It originates in the Himalayas. I have been there where it originates, and the place is called Gangotri. So if you go there, you'll be surprised that it originates from a place where this water is dripping. So when you see Ganges in, say, Kolkata, or even in Varanasi, when you see it's huge. Several of our Hindu sacred places, they are along the banks of Ganga. And we have this tradition, Hindus, that when someone dies, then the person is cremated and the ash has to be
dropped in the river.
In Ganga. So that's also part of the tradition. But Ganges over the years, because it is in the plains of India, and which is very thickly populated, so over the years we started getting industries along the banks and Ganga started getting polluted. So the present government has come up with a scheme for cleaning Ganga, and they are doing in a big way. And every Hindu family usually has water from Ganges. We call it Ganga Jal. Ganga is Ganges and Jal is water. So people get water, and when we have religious ceremonies, invariably you'll see that our priests, they will use Ganga Jal, and people also say that it has got curative properties. So if you drink Ganga Jal in its pure form, then it has got several curative properties also. In the various places, we have come up, the government has this initiative called Swachh Bharat. Swachh is clean, Bharat is India. So Clean India Mission. Because in many tourist places, unfortunately, we find that it gets a bit dirty, and so the government has special plans for all these, and it's happening. We are cleaning up those places to attract, to provide a hygienic and clean surrounding for tourists, so that when they are going to some place, they are not distracted by some other things which are there.
It's always very important, I think, to find places and destinations within a certain country that you might love or you might be interested in, and not necessarily go in the places that everyone knows or everyone talks about. And I think this is the challenge, and this is also the beauty of travel. And speaking of beauty of travel and the beauty of people, the Indians are very hospitable, and I think everyone knows that. They would welcome you with open arms. And speaking about that, even though it might not seem as being connected to the topic I would like to discuss about, there are several big names and big historical and cultural personalities coming from India that have made a difference all around the world. So I would like to talk about them now.
I will start with Ashoka because I mentioned it briefly when we were talking about the history of India. Because Ashoka was a king who was part of the Maurya dynasty. His father was Chandragupta Maurya, and Ashoka was the one who said that I want to conquer the world, and he had a huge empire. What is presently Afghanistan, Pakistan, that was all part of his empire, including India. So he had a huge empire, and there was a state called Kalinga, and I grew up in that state, which is now Orissa. So when Ashoka saw that he had not conquered Kalinga, he said that I'll go and conquer Kalinga also, because that's one place which is left. When he went there, his army killed lots of people, and then he came to see what he had conquered, and he saw these innocent people dead. So many people had been killed. He was shocked. He said that this is not what I am looking at when I say that I want to conquer the world. So his religion was Buddhism. So he said that he put another goal to himself: I will conquer the world not through war but through love. And that is how he sent messengers, peace messengers, to Sri Lanka, to Indonesia, many parts of the world. And these peace messengers, they went and spread Buddhism. So he was, I would say, one of the first people. There were people before him also who spread, so to say, culture of India outside. So that's one name that strikes out, comes to me. From there, I will jump to maybe modern India, because without the name of Gandhi in any context referring to India, I think India is incomplete without Gandhi, because he inspired not just Indians, and it is astonishing how we could get our independence by non-violent means, because he was very sure that we have to get independent, but then we have to get independence without killing people, without being violent. So his philosophy, not just in terms of what is said in the new context, but then he said several things which are relevant even now. And whenever we go off track in the world, then we should come back to what Gandhi has said, and that way we find solutions to many things.
And since India is a hospitable country, it's full of love and full of color, this reflects into the gastronomy also, into the food. You have very colorful food. So I would like to talk about the traditional dishes that might be the most representative for several parts of India, because I know it has a huge territory, so I'm quite sure that the gastronomy differs from one place to another.
And usually people associate fried or say spicy food with India, but I can tell you there are many places where they eat very bland food. Some of the representative dishes would be, I would say, the sweets, if you want to say that's something which unifies many parts of India. The sweets do, because if you have something called, say, gulab jamun, which is a sweet, you will find it in various places of various states in different forms. You will have it in South India in one form, you will have it in North India in one form, or say even sweet dishes made out of semolina. We call it halwa. You will have it in Punjab, you will have it a different form in Eastern India, you will have it in a different form in South India. because that's also a food that you use as a religious offering. So that may be one reason why this kind of dish is there everywhere. Also, if you say South India, then there are some dishes which unify, because South India is also 4 big states. Some South Indian dishes like dosa, they have it's like crepe made out of rice flour and lentils, and this is very popular all over India. It's from South India, but any place you go, any small town you go, you will see 2 or 3 South Indian dishes, which is dosa or idli. You will find it in every place in India. So these are some dishes which are everywhere. Others are staple food like what we call chapatis or paratha. You will have it in different forms in different places.
There is an impressive variety of foods according to the place in India you
Yes.
find yourself in. But what matters the most is that you have to taste
Yes.
India, that's for sure. Of course, food goes well with fun. Why not? So I would like to talk about the most important festivals throughout the year, whether they are religious or cultural or meant for young people or for elderly.
Not in terms of any order, but we just had the festival called Holi. So the world knows about Holi because it's a festival,
festival of colours.
colors. Yes. So Holi, yes, that's an important festival. That's the advent of spring in India. It's celebrated all over India. We have another festival. It's called like the festival of colors. We have the festival of lights, which is the Hindu New Year. It usually comes around November. It's called Diwali. So that's the festival of lights. It's a very big festival for Hindus. We have every day is a festival in India because we have our special calendar. India is also the home to four important religions in the world. So Hinduism, apart from that, home to Sikhism, which started in the mid 15th century, home to Jainism. Mahavir was born there, and also some ways home to Buddhism because Buddha was born in Nepal, but then he grew up in India, and from India it spread to other parts of the world.
The movie industry coming from India is definitely rising, and Bollywood is one serious competition for Hollywood, for instance. It might seem a bit awkward that I mentioned this because I want to talk about a specific topic. There are many people in Romania watching Indian movies, and in these movies there are also a wedding or engagement rituals, some of them traditional. So my question is actually not related to the movie industry, but to love and to wedding ceremonies. Are they the same in all the states in India, or they differ? I suppose they should.
Wedding ceremonies differ on 2 fronts. One is depending on what religion you practice. So if you are practicing Islam, then the wedding ceremony would be in a particular way. If you are a Hindu, in a different way. If you are Christian, then usually the movies that come out from what you call Bollywood or the Indian film industry based in Mumbai are the weddings that are representative of northern India. In the northern states of Punjab or Delhi, you have those kind of weddings. And the weddings are in North India or many states in South India also. Weddings in India are a very long affair. So weddings don't start at 10 o'clock in the morning and get over at 12 o'clock. Our wedding ceremonies, they take at least 7 days. So you'll have 7 days of ceremony, and by the end of it, the bride and groom are tired because they have to go through various ceremonies. And the weddings in India, no matter whether it's in a small village or whether it's in a city, they are huge. So in terms of numbers, you can have any number between say 500 to 50,000. So you can have huge weddings. So people spend a lot on weddings, and the wedding industry also. There's a huge industry which has evolved around that.
And we have a common ambassador, since we are talking about diplomacy.
Yes,
Mircea Eliade.
Yes, definitely.
Is he as known in India as he is in
No,
Europe?
unfortunately no, but he is known amongst the literary circles. People, or say from the state of Bengal, where he stayed, there are more people who know him than in other parts of India.
Because I know that at some point, since we are talking about travel, there have been travel agencies, both from Romania and India, that made circuits according to different sites or different houses, different cities in which Mircea Eliade has been traveling to in India. And I think that's quite interesting for all the people that,
Yes,
the Romanians, for instance, that love
tourism
Eliade.
from Romania.
It's sort of a cultural tourism, but you can mix it with all the flavors of India.
Yes.
And that's quite interesting. Coming back to Romania, how do you find our country?
It's a great country. I've been just about 8-9 months here, so too early to say about my impression of all of Romania, because there are several parts I have not been. What I like about Romania is, for one, it's a peaceful place. No matter where you go, it's very peaceful. What I also like is it's a very safe place. So you are traveling at 12 o'clock in the night, you are walking alone, it's a very safe place. Then I like places which are green, because I grew up in a place where we had lots of greenery. So if I don't see trees, I find it very difficult. So that way I like Bucharest and I like Romania, because no matter where you go, you have trees, you have lots of greenery, you have mountains, along the rivers you have trees, so greenery everywhere. So that's something also what I like.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for the interview, for your hospitality, and thank you for all the wonderful information that you shared with us about your country. India is truly like an open book, open or ready to be opened, to be read, to be lived. And I think that one of the most important messages that comes out of India into the rest of the world is live your life to the fullest, live your life in bright colors, and being guided by peace and love.
Yes.
I think these are the most important things that should surface.
Yes. So one should not take life very seriously, and if you go to India, you will see that is how it is. While we are growing fast, we are becoming a big economy, but people are not depressed because of the fact that they don't have what others have.
Dragii mei, iată că poate unul dintre secretele fericirii este să călătorești cel puțin o dată în India și să întâlnești oamenii de acolo plini de viață și de culoare, și cu siguranță perspectiva ta asupra lucrurilor se va schimba. Până la următoarea noastră întâlnire, însă, nu uitați să vă transformați viața într-o poveste frumoasă.